be bold, be heard. Welcome to Unmute Your Mic with your host, Jessica Bell.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. My name is Jessica Bell. I am your host for today, and I am in Kansas City, Missouri. Today, I have Marshella with me. She is such an amazing, amazing person. I cannot wait for you all to hear her story, hear what God has done in her life, and the things that she has overcome. She is super inspirational to me, and I'm sure many other people who know her, who see her on social media and all of that. So if you could just please introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then we can go from there.
Okay, thank you for having me, Jessica.
Of course.
My name is Marshella Griffin-Larry because I just got married.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a newlywed. I'm from Bloomington, Indiana, and I've lived in LA for the past, I think, 16, going on 16 years now. So, yeah, here, born in Indiana, living in Cali.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So you said you mentioned that you've recently gotten married. So how has newlywed life been?
Newlywed life has been great. It's been really nice. This is my second marriage. I was married before, but funny story is my husband now, we were together like 13 years ago, long distance. We met in LA, but he took a position with his company in Texas and moved like a month after we started dating. And so we decided to, make it work and do the long distance thing. So we did that for almost 2 years, actually. Mm-hmm. And he wanted me to move to Texas. And I was like, I just moved to LA, prayed about it. God was not telling me to move. And that's one thing I've always done is I always am asking God, like, what should I do? Am I supposed to do this? Like, I know I love him. I want to be with him, but he wasn't telling me to move to Texas. So we decided to take a break. And it's like, I'm kind of one of those people that are like, if God means for something to be, it's going to be. If it's for you, it's for you. So, we said, let's take a break. And, if, maybe we'll get back together, maybe not. I don't know. But in between that break, he ended up marrying someone. And so, yeah, it was like, wait, what?
You're like, hold on, we're on break. Well, I'm confused.
Wait, what? What had happened was, so yeah, that was like a shocker. The thing is, we didn't break up on any bad terms or anything. Like we were still in contact, but not dating at all, Yeah. So yeah, he married someone else, and it was just kind of like, okay, all right, well, I guess that wasn't meant to be. Okay, Lord, wish you well. On to the next.
Yeah.
So we didn't talk for years, and then what started us talking? We had our mutual friend. We have a mutual girlfriend that we're both very close to. And so I guess she would keep him up on things I was doing and, vice versa or whatever. And he had gotten a divorce and I didn't know because we weren't in contact. So he had gotten a divorce and moved back to California. And how I found out was because he has had an auntie and uncle that lived here in LA that I had gotten really close with. And so when we were together, we spent a lot of time with them. And so I hadn't talked to them in years, because I thought, it's like we were broken up. Yeah. It was just for me to be just hanging out with his family.
Yeah.
So I kind of distanced myself. But he called to tell me that his aunt had passed away. And so I was like, and that was the first time we had like talked in, I don't know how long. And so I was like, let me know when the funeral is, I'm there. So we saw each other and it was like, oh, wow, like I haven't seen you in a while. And I was like, there's my old Lance. And I was like, wait a minute, what am I talking about, my old Lance? Like, wait, no, I'm over you. Like, wow, whatever.
Right.
And what was so funny is that I didn't know he was divorced and living back here. And I had already gotten married and was going through divorce. So by the time when he called me and told me his aunt had passed, I was already separated and had moved back to LA, separated from my husband. And so it was like, wait, okay. So we kind of kept in contact, but I wasn't trying to hear him. Wasn't trying to hear him.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to heal from this, you know, horrible marriage I had and all that. And then part of me was like, it's your fault that I married that guy, because if you hadn't, I'm trying to blame him. Yeah, if you hadn't ran off and married that girl, then I wouldn't have been open and free. And then the crazy man would have found me. And then, hey, right? So yeah, I had some animosity. I did have some animosity there, you know. So he was just very persistent. He was like, you know, I know that you have always been the one. I tried to, you know, manufacture something else with someone that I wanted with you. And I knew it wasn't right, you know, but I just felt like you didn't want to be with me because you didn't pick up and move to Texas. And it's like, you know, he's like, I understand. I mean, we were like 33 at the time. We were, you know, younger. And he was like, I understand now why, you know, you were consulting with God. And he said, I wouldn't have been right for you back then anyway. There's some things that I had to grow, and I had to learn, you know, how to be the right man for you. And so it's like, all these years later, you know, we found our way back to each other, and it's just been so great because we both had similar marriages. Like, it was like we married the same person, which is like, yeah, both kind of narcissistic, and because we're both givers. So both of us are givers. So we married takers. We're married
not
takers.
funny, but
yeah, but you know, and you're just like, craziness, you know. So it's like we learned so much being in those other relationships. So it's like I can even look back at the bad marriage and be like, thank you, God, for that. You know, even though it was hard, it was like, thank you, because now I've grown to a whole other place. I've gotten closer to you. I can hear you better, Lord.
Yeah.
And I think if I hadn't went through that bad relationship, then I would not have been open to see Lance now, see my husband now, see who he had become, and you know what kind of man he had turned into, you know. So my eyes were open. Yeah. That's rough. It's rough when because you could stay in your bitterness. You know, it's easy to stay in the bitterness and then take that baggage and put it on everyone else. And I could have stayed mad at him because I had that resentment towards him. But once I forgave him and just, let all that go, then I was able to see, it was like,
I think that is so beautiful because that's such a unique love story. To have been together, both went off, got married, were living your own lives, seemingly thinking like, okay, when you guys broke up, that was pretty much just going to be the end of it.
Yeah.
And for your paths to come back together, I think that is such a beautiful thing because it just speaks a lot to God really knowing the desires of our hearts. And so, and even when we make a mistake, I mean, that I know, having being married and then not having married the correct person, and God still kind of gently pulling me out of that situation, but then saying I still know what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And, and I think your story is that's so beautiful because, a lot of times we don't always see what's best for us, but God continually does. Even when we're, we could be like, oh, I'm done. I'm over it. I'm off doing my own thing. And God's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Enjoy that. You'll be back. Right? He gives us grace. He gives us grace. Even when we're leaning to our own understanding,
Yeah.
picking. And I think when I got married to the last guy, I was 38, and I was like, oh, I want kids. And here's the thing, the devil knows what you're looking for too.
Yeah. That's
So he
good.
sends those imposters, that look like they tick everything on your box. And then, after I said I do, it was like, haha, that's not really me,
Yeah. Like, gotcha.
who the bleep did I marry? It's like that show, like,
Yeah.
wait, what? Gotcha, And so that's why it's just so important to know yourself and know the Lord, because the enemy is sending people at you left and right, because he sees what God's trying to do in your life. And then he sends the person that's going to separate you from your family and separate you from your friends and throw you off your goals and what you had, what you were trying to do. And that's everything that happened. But it was good, because I was so fed up and so over it that it caused me to look internally and be like, what are you doing? Like, you need to work on yourself, get yourself together, and get back to who you were. Like, I don't know this version of you,
Yeah.
I didn't recognize that version of myself that was putting up with certain things. And so once I got away from there, and I prayed, because I was just going to stay in it, because my parents been married 50 years. And so, I've come from the family, you tough it out, you pray through it, you work on it. So I was like, I'm gonna give it my best. He's not treating me right, but I'm gonna stick it out. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna do all these things. And then I audibly heard the Lord say to me one morning, leave now.
Wow.
Like, it was serious. It was like, what?
Wow.
And then my confirmation was my father, who's a pastor. I was talking to my dad, and he said, he has not been treating you as a husband should be treating you. So he's divorced you in his heart already.
Wow.
He's left you. Y'all are married legally, but he's already divorced you. And he said, don't feel bad about it. You should leave. And for my dad to say that, it was kind of like, oh, wow. Like, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting him to be like, pray through it. You can get. But he saw it. He was just like, that's the enemy, and this guy's not going to change, at all. Like, you need to save yourself.
Right. And it's amazing how God will use other people to confirm stuff in us, especially, like you said, the people who you maybe didn't think would be agreeing with you. Because God knows us, and because he knows, like you said, with you and Lance both being like givers, and like, so you're like when you're a giver and you attract the wrong type of person, they can literally take everything from you. And and God knowing your heart, and God knowing the kind of person you are, it probably would have taken a lot for you to actually leave if you had you not been getting confirmations from someone, especially like your father, somebody who you love, that you're close to, who also hears from God.
Yes. I would still be in it, because you have that, when you have that family structure where your parents get along, your parents love each other still and like each other after 50 years, you desire that, and you don't want to be, and my brother's been married 20 something years. And then my younger sister, I was like the only one that wasn't married. Right. And so you desire to, stick it out and to not be the failure of the family. Like, oh, I failed at marriage. And it's like, you don't realize that people aren't even that's what you're putting in your head, but nobody's even seeing that or thinking that about you. It's like, no, we just want you to be happy.
Exactly. Yeah. And the enemy wants you to be, the enemy wants you to be like, oh gosh, I failed. Something's wrong with me.
Yes.
And like you said, everyone else around you is like, girl, just be happy and get, chase after what it is that God has for you, and don't be so worried about, what picture the enemy tries to paint.
Yes, that's it. Exactly. And I noticed too that after going through that, I did get back to myself. Like a new confidence came back that I had been missing, and didn't even realize it was gone. Like I had stopped, taking my acting classes and going to auditions. Like I had just like stopped all that because I was like, I want to be a wife and I want to be a mother, and I was just like, forgot about the other things that I was even pursuing. Yeah. And so that kind of lit a fire under me again to get back to what does Marshella love, and what do I want to do? What do I want for my life? And so then what that does is that when you're feeling good about yourself and your confidence is there, and you like know where you're going, and you're consulting with the Lord, then you don't realize it, but you're positioning yourself for the right mate to see you. You're positioning yourself for the right man to come and say, "Ooh, I need to be part of that. Like we could really do something together." Not I like what she has, I want to suck her dry.
Yeah.
But hey, I think that we could build something together, and that's who Lance is. Like Lance is like that supportive person, and it's like we laugh and tell people all the time, like our little arguments are like when we first started getting back together and trying to like really get in the groove and know each other. Our arguments would be like over us trying to help each other, like over.
No, I'm gonna help.
Like,
I'm gonna help.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna do this for you. No, I'm gonna do this for you. No, I'm gonna do this for you. And it was just like we had both never been in a situation, because our relationship before was long distance. So you see someone once a month, you don't really get to the crux of things. But us being together and seeing each other regularly and getting to know the quirks and all that, it was just like, oh my gosh, like we are trying to out love each other. And that is what we argue over, which was different for both of us, but it's become just super, super nice, like just wonderful. Yeah. And another thing that like most people don't know about me and his relationship is we got back together it's been almost 5 years ago. Yeah, I guess because when you met us, we had just joined Hillel Church.
Yeah.
And we had just that was the start of us getting back together, right?
Okay.
So we were trying to do everything right, and so that's what we've done our whole relationship. And we were abstinent our whole relationship until we got married 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
So I know.
Yeah.
40, 45, 46-year-old people, it was just like one of those things where we had messed up so bad before that we didn't want to mess this up. So we were even down to the little things, just trying to, respect each other and live, respect God and do what, we thought that would please him. So it's just been, he's just like blessed us through everything. Like, well, we could be here all day. I'm gonna tell you, I could be here all day.
Well, I did want to ask too. So you were talking about, how you guys kind of like outgive each other, how supportive he is. And so I know one of the other things that you have gone through that I really was kind of following your journey that really inspired me was your battle with cancer. And so if you could just touch on that a little bit, just, kind of go into that a little bit.
Yeah. So in 2017, so this is what's crazy. So I was 43. So neither of us have kids. He has a stepson from his previous marriage, but neither of us have kids together. And so we were like, we really, we need to see what's going on. Is your sperm okay? Or, because we didn't know, because we never tried to get pregnant because we were abstinent. So we weren't having sex.
Yeah.
So we don't know if, everything's working. And I've had reproductive problems previously because I have lupus as well. So, it's a health issues.
Yeah.
And so we went to a fertility specialist and having all these tests done on me, tests done on my uterus, tests done on him. And so the doctor said, well, you know what? Since I had a mini stroke when I was 40. Then I had a miscarriage before when I was married, one miscarriage. And so I think it was brought on by the lupus, the stroke and the miscarriage.
Yeah.
And so he said, well, since you have these pre-existing conditions, that the only way I feel comfortable, helping you guys get pregnant is if you go and get a clean bill of health, from all your doctors, like go to your rheumatologist, go to, everybody, just get your exams done. So I was like, cool. Okay. So I go to my OBGYN. He sends me off to get my mammogram, which I get every year anyway. Like I've just always, and I never had a family history before. My mom has had breast cancer, but she was the only one and she got it when she was 60. Yeah, 60 years old. But no other family members had breast cancer. So we didn't have a, history, as they call it. But I've always had lumps, like just benign lumps. I've always had lumps, and always because I've self-examined, So I just thought, oh, cool, go get my mammogram, whatever. And so did that, trying to get this clean bill of health so I can, possibly make some babies, right?
Yeah.
And so he was like, the radiologist came back and said, you know what, we wanted to come back and do another one. We need to zoom in. We want to do like a closer version because we see something, but it's probably nothing. So I go back, I get another mammogram, ultrasound, all that. And they said, let's just send you over to our surgeon. And I have been to the surgeon before because I had the lumps. And so he's like drained them for me before, like it's nothing, he's like, oh, hey, he's like, this is going to be nothing. Let's just go in, let's cut them out because they're uncomfortable for you. He called me the day after he cut them out, and he was like, I didn't want to wait till next week. He said, I'm going out of town, and I didn't want to wait till next week for you to come in the office to tell you. He said, it's definitely cancer, and it's growing rapidly. And I was like, wait, what? And I said, cancer? Like, I thought I'm like, you're supposed to give me a clean bill of health so I can try to make some babies. And I was like, wait, what? So I was like, okay. So I'm, just a detailed person. I was like, okay, tell me everything. What do I need to do? And so he just like mapped it all out and was like, okay, well, we'll figure out the stages, all that. But it went moved very, very fast. And it was like, it's growing aggressive. So we need to do chemo and radiation as well. So I was like, wait. And so then he's like, well, this means that you're going to be sterile after this. Like if I did have one or two eggs, like this was gonna, kill them all, And so, and I didn't have time. There was no time to do the freezing of the eggs.
Yeah.
And, that a lot of people get to do because it was just moving so fast. So that's this is like one way that Lance really he just really, I'm gonna start crying.
Oh.
Like God really sends you the right person when you are people, when you need them. Like God knew that I was going to have breast cancer and that I could not have been in that relationship and that person take care of me the way I needed to be taken care of. He was just, my hair started falling out, and he still made me feel like I was the most beautiful person. He shaved my head for me. Just little things that you don't even think about. Someone that's just really like, I am here. Like I never doubted that he was not going to be there with me through all this. And it's like, we weren't even married. And, you think that you're just like, oh God, you think, is he gonna want to be with me now? Like I'm sick and got cancer and I'm all cut up, and and you like, for someone to stick with you that hasn't committed to you. Well, he had, but legally not
Yeah.
committed to you in that way is like a big, was a big, big thing. And it just like brought us so much even closer than we were before. So it's like, man, God, like you keep putting me in these little tests, but I always end up
Yeah.
having a testimony after, right?
Yeah.
It's like there's always, it doesn't matter like what storm you're in, like there's always, even if it's tiny, there's always blessings in that storm, like no matter what, whether it was just, I mean, I got a year off work, right?
Right. I mean, you
But
got
I was,
seriously.
I mean, you have to see the blessings,
Yeah.
even though you're going through this horrible time, like I'm sick, I'm all this, but I got a year off work and I got my full salary the whole time that I was
Wow.
off. Like that doesn't happen. And it's crazy because if I hadn't had that stroke previously, I wouldn't have signed up for long-term disability at work. Like it was something that told me, oh, let me just sign up for it because I had that stroke before, not knowing any of this other stuff was going to happen. It's just like, God, you just blessed me in spite of, like,
Yeah, and I think that's so. I mean, one thing I thought of too when you were sharing that part of your story is that, like, had you had not gone to the fertility doctor to get a clean bill of health, who knows when you would have found out?
I
And it
wouldn't
may
have found
have been
out.
so far down the line that it was just like,
Yeah,
like your story would have ended completely different. So
yeah,
even in that, it's like, you think you're going to do one thing for something else, but that was God's way to be able to draw attention to something that
yes,
that you wouldn't have had any other way. Because like you said, if you already previously have lumps, if you're checking on a regular basis, you're not
yeah.
thinking that. And so I
No,
love how God is so like detail oriented and he pays such close attention. So like even
yes,
like so that even in that, and even when you're going through an obstacle, like I love how you're sharing the things that you were blessed, like that you gotten paid the whole time you were off, that you had Lance, and that you weren't going through this by yourself. Like God
yeah,
just, like you said, God knew, and so he made sure to position you so that you weren't worried about finances, you weren't
yes,
worried about having to go through this alone. And I think that
yeah.
is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, not only that, we struggled, and it's so funny, we struggled with this whole thing of living together because he lived in Orange County and I lived in
Mm,
the Valley, so we were far apart.
yeah.
So we had decided, I guess maybe it was probably I got diagnosed maybe 7 months, 6, 7 months after we decided to move into the house together. And it was a
Mm,
big struggle we had even deciding to do that because I was like, my parents are going to like it. Your parents, he comes from, he's a pastor kid too. So we
wow.
both, preachers' kids. And it's like, live together before marriage. And,
Yeah.
and so, but our thing was we're in LA. We have an opportunity to have a house and
Mm,
we're abstinent.
yeah.
So we're not even doing what married people do. But we still were like, oh God, people were telling you have other people in your ear, religious
Yeah.
people saying, oh, you're not right. Lord's not going to bless you. Oh, the Lord's not going to bless you and it's like, I talked to my dad and my mom and I was expecting them to be really funny acting. And they were like,
Yeah.
you are in your 40s. You and
Yeah.
him, you and him have went through craziness, with your divorces. You guys are on the same page. You're on the page, with God, as the head of your
Yeah.
relationship. And if this is what you need to do financially, it was what we needed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so who knew that 6 months later, it really was what we needed to do. Thank God I was here with him because I would have been trying to go to chemotherapy appointments in the Valley by myself. Us living in two different places. There's no way that he could have been there for me in my sickness.
And in the way that you needed him to be.
Oh my gosh, I would have been by myself. Like, my sister lives in Santa Clarita, but she's got, a husband and kids. Like, she couldn't have been there with me every day,
Yeah.
So it was just like, God, look how you everything lined up everything that you knew that I would need, that he would need, is just like amazing when you sit back and you just like see all these little blessings, happening, even while you're like in this blah,
Yeah. And so often, sometimes we think things are just happening, or like, oh, that was good timing, but God is knowing that he's putting things in place for things that we are not aware of yet. And so I think that is what is so amazing about your story, is that like through something that is extremely difficult, and that not everyone, or a lot of people cannot say that they've experienced, you still had all these little moments where you could look back and be like, there was God there, he was there, and all these things were coming together to support you along the journey that God knew that you were going to do. And now you have this amazing testimony.
Yes. And it's just, I was mad for a while with the whole not being able to have kids, because that's all I ever wanted. And then, mad about the fact that I had a miscarriage with my ex-husband. But it's like, oh my gosh, if I had a child with him, like, I wasn't supposed to have a child with him, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to, because like, even imagining that I'd still be tied to that person for years and years is just mind blowing to me.
Listen, I know.
What? Like, okay, you saved me and I didn't even, you're just in your own world, like, oh, why did I have a miscarriage? Why, oh, you weren't supposed to have his baby, and now I've come to grips with too, the fact that biologically I probably will not, ever be able to have, I'm 46 now. But, there's kids out there that need help if we decide to. There's fostering, there's there's other ways, and I feel like, once we make up our mind, decide what we want to do, but I feel like we could be a blessing, out there to another kid that's in need, because we both just like have so much love we want to like, that we want to give. So I think God's setting us up for great things together as a couple, now that we're,
and I'm so excited.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for what God is going to do. I mean, your story is already amazing, but like you said, with both of you guys having such big hearts, being givers, like, if you got whatever way you guys decide to go, I know it's going to be specifically God ordained. And so that makes me extremely excited. And I am so thankful that you came on today and just shared such a little part of your story. I mean, we could honestly go for like 2 hours.
I know
there was so much. So I definitely want to have you come back on, but I really appreciate you being so vulnerable and being willing to share such a, a difficult time. But I love seeing what God is doing and what he's going to continue to do. So I thank you so much again. And I thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Unmute Your Mic. Thank you for sharing with me. I love you so much.
I love you. Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for tuning in to Unmute Your Mic. Be sure to tune in next time when Jessica takes her mic off mute as she continues her journey to find stories that inspire and uplift our communities.